Hello, everyone. I believe in honesty, especially in times like these. It is why I choose not to hold back when I feel the need to confront matters that have emerged. I do not plan on changing this notion. So if you're not a fan of the facts, and quite frankly, your life is that miserable, we purposely seek out others to cause confrontation because it's your only form of social interaction, it's probably best you look away from this message. This is not something I wanted to do under this scope. However, previous incidents make it to where I do not have confidence in the fact that many of you who say you're fans will be respectful. I wouldn't want to meet some of you in person, to be completely honest. During one of the most recent episodes when we had Brian and Lex on, Brian made a comment that whenever I do these videos, it's about as real as it gets for an online broadcast. I know I like laughing, joking around, and there's some people that question how truly serious I am about these matters. I don't think they realize that if someone like me has to buckle down and get serious, it means something is seriously wrong. And that's the point of today's broadcast. I wanted, how should I put this? When Chris and I started Bald and Bonkers, we wanted to continue what we had with previous affiliations that were threatened to be censored by individuals whose lack of moral compass and poor self-image allowed them to make some poor life choices. We saw through their lies. They tried to censor how we portray things. They tried to censor sensitive information of illegal activities. And many of the same members involved in those circles are still involved in such activities. And unfortunately, this is something I've noticed quite a bit when it comes to the supernatural field. UFOs, ghosts, cryptids, whatever your poison is for this type of thing. During the initial confrontations during the first episode, to try to put those matters to rest, a remark I made that continues to prove true was that you don't necessarily take on an interest in this field without having some sort of issues. It's not that you're necessarily mentally ill, though the criteria is slowly widening, so any of us probably would count, myself included. And there are many in this field who have made mistakes and who have done their best to try to overcome it. Perhaps it's previous criminal charges, perhaps it's issues with drugs or alcohol. The willpower it takes to be able to overcome those things is admirable. It is those people who I will always give a chance. Because if they show they're willing to work to improve themselves, They deserve that chance. However, recently, some information has come to light, which at this time, I will not be mentioning any specifics or any specific names. Out of respect for the people involved. However, should these situations continue to evolve, I hope these individuals understand that as CEO of Bald and Bonkers, as the one who is legally responsible for everything involved in this company, I have to make some choices from time to time that I would rather not make. I'd rather not be put in a position. However, as the network, the shows, and everything else, as they have blossomed into something that was beyond my expectations, it was something I wanted to see through, to give people a chance to show themselves, show who they really are, when they may not have the resources to do it on their own. In order to get anywhere in life, networking is essential. You may have all the skills to yourself to be a one-person army, but it always helps to have people in your corner who at the very least could show you the way, point you in the right direction. That is a philosophy I've tried to keep. However, the nature of these matters that have come up is fairly serious. And for the time being, I have agreed to simply sit back, allow the situation to unfold, because the people involved, while yes, they have been a part of previous controversies, they have shown an effort to better themselves. Because they've shown that effort, shown that willpower, I will give them the chance to continue doing so. But if that situation goes to evolve, I will have to sever ties. I tried to make it to where those involved with the shows can try to do so as freely as possible. We're all in different time zones. We all had different schedules. We all have different life situations. And it seems like these last few weeks, things have been rather chaotic for just about everybody. And some people have shown that they may not have the time to keep these up. So I'm going to have to reevaluate further relationships. This is not an attack on any individual. This is simply a statement of fact, an acknowledgement of the reality that the company faces, and to state my ground that yes, I do have a plan to keep moving forward. Said plans are always given a sense of fluidity to allow adjustment where needed, to make everything as adaptable as possible. Initially, when Chris and I held the reins on this together, I honestly got the impression he was trying to recreate something from our previous associations, even though we saw how well that worked out. I want to take something a little different. While yes, Bald and Bonkers will continue to produce their own shows, and not just necessarily anything supernatural, there's A news-related one that we're working on putting together. There is a cryptozoology program in the works. There's also a music program, an author showcase, and what was the other one? There's gaming streams, as some of you may know. There will be investigation work. There's a number of projects on the horizon. Maybe even a new nonprofit, who knows? This is all also happening as the documentary is going through the initial funding stages, the initial planning stages as we speak. As many of you have continued to keep asking, expecting that these updates mean that there's a finished product near the horizon. Perhaps it is in the level of understanding between Chris and I that led to some of this confusion. There's also been an atmosphere of hostility, of tenseness. And though I may not have been a contributing factor, maybe I have. As the CEO, the fault lands on me and I accept that responsibility. And I will be making adjustments as we go. Things we have in line aren't matters you can just snap your fingers and it would be done. Any idiot with a computer and a decent computer camera and a decent internet connection can fund their own YouTube channel. Matters of how the shows are distributed. Anyone can do it if they put in the effort. It's also come to my attention that it seems there are several people who are trying to get the work done for free without actually contributing to the cause. This is something I'll be tightening a noose on very soon. As I said before, I did not want this to be a negative broadcast. I noticed that there's probably a few of you who claim to be friends of people involved in the shows that dislike videos that specifically show me because I think you're frauds. And your behavior like teenage girls continues to validate my point instead of being reasonable adults. And some of you have made remarks that I don't necessarily chattel on in the shows. Well, Chris doesn't necessarily shut up some days. And I don't necessarily have a weak enough self-image to feel I need to speak out above everybody else. But I'm getting tired of seeing this behavior, so matters will change. Unfortunately, being that this is now a business, I gotta play the bad guy, and some of you are not gonna like the changes that come. But I gotta do what's best to protect myself, the company, and those who continue moving forward with us. And you can try stirring up trouble. We have law enforcement connections to at least bring matters forward, to expose you cowards that try to hide under the veil that is the internet. I don't hide. This is my face. Yeah, I like to be goofy sometimes, but that's because I want this to not only be a spot where people can learn, can grow, but maybe, just maybe, get a release from the stresses of day-to-day life. Find one reason to smile, a reason to learn, a reason to grow. I like to think I've grown myself over the course of this endeavor in itself. I've noticed it, and the work is paying off. Just look at this Saturday's broadcast. I never thought I'd get to speak one-on-one with a man. Needless to say, amazing things are coming. And unfortunately, to protect the fact that we can keep those things coming, to protect the interests of those who we are going to partner with, to show that this is a company potentially worth investing, as I am looking into finding a business partner who has no personal connection to me whatsoever. I've seen what happens when people try to keep it inside with their close friends or with significant others or prospective significant others. I've seen the amount of lies people are willing to make for their mere infatuations. I do not want what is perhaps the biggest project I managed to put together to fall into those hands. And I'm doing my best to try to move forward, make every decision with a calm and reasonable headspace. Emotions that will soon follow of what I feel are going to be the best moves, not just for the company, but everyone else involved. There may be a space where certain people, where certain ties are cut. You know what? Perhaps it'll just be better meant to be. Can't help but wonder how many people are pushing themselves to near suicidal mindsets, trying to keep people around who are only meant to be a part of their life for a season. Guess I just did just reference a Dia video, but for those of you who know what one I want talking about, it's a good lesson to keep in mind with life. We will have the casting calls launched for the documentary for people to submit their own stories. Chris keeps asking me for a script on what to talk about for the documentary, but I can't tell him how to tell his experiences, as he can't necessarily tell me how to portray mine. Yes, there's a number of you who keep mentioning that for a couple of guys who never met in person, somehow we became best friends or are practically like brothers. Yes, there's that dynamic, but at the end of the day, he's in Scotland and I'm in the US. I think we may have crossed paths before when I went to Scotland for a trip, but we just kind of passed each other in the wind, not realizing. Though to be completely honest with some of the developments within the shows, some of the matters we've talked about in some of the UFO encounters, kind of insinuate that he and I may actually be distant relatives. Wouldn't that be interesting? Maybe we'll put that as part of the documentary. Get DNA tests to see if we're cousins or something. Wouldn't that be interesting? I know in my last little announcement video, I said I was going to give a few more details about the documentary, and whenever I let Chris take control of the conversation, he tends to skip over certain things. So I will say this. You can probably expect a format of similar to shows like Ancient Aliens and Ghost Hunters, even. I want to, the thing that's important with this is that the message I want to underlie is that there is a great change with this. And yes, it can be scary. There was a troll who tried to say Elena Denon, and themselves were creeped out by the little trailer I've showed, and there's no real change into how I actually did the trailer. They tried to say that it was played off like a horror movie. It's like, well, if you have strange looking people kidnapping you in the middle of the night and taking you off to weird places, yeah, it's a little scary at first. I want to talk with Lisa Fry a bit more, but there's still certain matters of my own tales that I'm still trying to process. I've only gone into exclusive detail with one person because he and I are working on a book together. But with the documentary, you can expect testimonies, you can expect filming locations. Chris just realized that some important spots with The Deceptions of Gods and Men by Barry Fitzgerald and Brian Allen, I think it was. Some of the spots they talk about at the very beginning of that book are within a 30-minute drive from him. So, as Chris would say, wink wink, nudge nudge. Plus, you're going to get stories from as many people who are brave enough to contribute. The Kickstarter campaign isn't necessarily doing as well as I would hope, but I am looking into some backup plans for that. And we've had a number of people come forward saying they'd be willing to take part, which is good because the main thing I want to show is that with this film, what I want to show is that yes, while things in the world may seem scary, times of great change are coming. But if we're going to survive, we have to come together. We have to share each other's stories. We have to be each other's light. Because in the end, that's what we are. We are light.